Later, at dinner. Normally, Gretel and I would be having a fun time eating and chatting right about now, but tonight was very different. It was quiet. Unnaturally quiet. The slightest clink of the silverware grated on me. Both of them ate my tomato-simmered chicken, rock-salt soup, and rock-salt salad in total silence. Rock-salt soup. So, how's the food? Unable to take the awkwardness any longer, I spoke in my most cheerful voice. Silence. I tried to play mediator, but my attempt went completely ignored. If only Wolf were here. With his aggressive optimism, surely the two of us could get the ball rolling, but alas. If I can't count on my teammates, then I'll just have to score a goal myself. Clearly, my mistake was that I had framed it as an open question. This time, I decided I would tailor my questions to each person. If that didn't work, well, I'd probably be devastated, honestly. How are things going lately, Ryoshi?
What do you mean, how are things going?
You know what I mean. What's new with you? Your health, your job, your love life, anything.
I have a perfect bill of health. My job is nothing special. And as for my love life, I can't complain.
Perfect. Now I just need to keep the conversation going. That reminds me. You're always making girls cry, aren't you? Why, just the other day we had some haughty ladies storm in and demand to see you. Right, Gretel? The new topic of conversation, my brother's womanizing ways. Ah, another thing that's consistent. Surely we could find some common ground to have a fun moment together.
I don't remember that.
Gretel stared blankly back. You don't? I looked at Ryoshi. He glared back with a look that said, "Keep your mouth shut." Sorry. Guess you weren't there. My plan had completely backfired. Instead of softening the tension, I added to it. I think this is what they call a self-own. But I'm not giving up yet. Gretel, are you still planning to make rock salt ice cream after this? Can I help? This time I addressed Gretel.
About that. Sorry, but I think I should focus on my studies tonight.
In an instant, my one ray of hope was snuffed out. Aww. I groaned sadly. At this, Gretel stopped eating and frowned at me, conflicted. Now this was an unusual reaction.
Just make it with her, would you?
Then Ryoshi spoke, and Gretel's expression closed off altogether.
I have to study.
His voice was cold and hard.
May I please be excused?
He rose from his seat. I'll wash your plate for you, okay?
Thank you.
And so, after rinsing his dirty dishes, he left the room. Once the door had closed behind him, I hissed at Ryoshi. This is all your fault!
What did I do?
He scowled at me in annoyance. Your attitude makes Gretel feel uncomfortable.
You've got it backwards, kid. He hates me. I mean, we're not even fighting. You're reading too much into it.
Then be nicer to him.
I have been. There's just nothing more I can do at this stage.
He rose to his feet.
Lest you forget, I got my own place as a courtesy to him, remember?
And with that, he walked out. Well, Ryoshi, I thank you for giving me the most to chew on so far this route. Not my actual brother. You left out of consideration for him. What is the point of all this shenanigery? Alone, I ate the rest of my soup in silence. A silent soup.
Come in.
With his blessing, I opened the door and entered Gretel's room. All the while, I kept my surprise hidden behind my back. Gretel! How's studying going? Making any progress? He didn't look up from his desk.
Yeah, I guess.
Am I interrupting? I can come back later if you want.
You're not. It's fine.
Then, finally, he turned to look at me.
I smell sugar.
Cat's out of the bag, huh?
You can't keep it from me. I have a sixth sense for sweets.
As I fidgeted with excitement, he beckoned to me. Happily, I hurried over and showed him what I was hiding. Ta-da! I made you some rock salt cookies!
You made them. For me.
Well, we were going to make rock salt ice cream, but then you ran off back here to study. So, since you're being such a hard worker, I thought I'd reward you with a treat. A sweet scent filled the room as I opened the jar of cookies. I felt around for one that was still warm, then pulled it out and held it up to his mouth. Say, ah!
Oh.
He hesitated for a moment, but ultimately caved to the bewitching power of sweets. I pushed the cookie into his mouth, and he started to chew slowly. Once I saw him swallow, I asked, "Was it good?"
30 points.
Out of 50? Well, that's better than a 0. Not by much, but oh well.
They're hard as a rock, no real crunch to them. When you bite into a cookie, you're supposed to hear it crumble. These don't have that. Also, they're powdery in the middle, which means the dough was extremely undermixed. The key to mixing a neat and uniform cookie dough is to start by folding it, then kneading it. Mind you, I'm cutting you a lot of slack here since you're my sister, but these are the most amateur cookies I've ever eaten.
And so Gretel went on a long, long rant. He was dead serious, too. He was making eye contact the entire time.
By the average person's standards, I'd say they're worth 60 points.
This point promotion almost got me excited, but then I realized it wasn't much of an improvement. I'll take your feedback into consideration for next time.
There doesn't have to be a next time.
Huh? Why not? I was expecting him to say please do, so this caught me off guard.
Because, well...
His voice faltered. Then, as I stared at him in confusion, he suddenly snatched the jar of cookies out of my hands. Hey!
By the way, did you give him any of these?
Him who? He didn't respond, which meant he was probably talking about Ryoshi. No, silly. I made these specifically for you. Buzz.
I see.
Smiling to himself slightly, he pulled out another cookie and shoved it into his mouth. Evidently, he was planning to eat them, despite their poor quality. Do you not like Ryoshi? He froze.
You know, sister...
Hmm?
You're ridiculously gifted, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe. What about it? I knew he was changing the subject, but I went with it anyway.
You've got a pretty face, a great figure, a perky personality. You're smart, and you can cook, too.
Whoa, what's going on? This is uncharacteristically nice of you. Were you really craving cookies or something? Or has all that studying made you delirious? I pressed my palm to his forehead, but he smacked it away.
I'm not joking around here. This is simply my external evaluation.
Thanks? If these were honest compliments, then they deserved an honest thank you.
You must get a lot of male attention.
Yeah, I guess. He pursed his lips bitterly. No attempt was made to conceal the displeasure on his face.
In my opinion, you're almost perfect. Except for your personality.
Are you saying I should keep my mouth shut?
No, not at all. If anything, you should talk more. Let them see the real you. That way, they'll change their minds.
So the more I talk, the less anyone likes me? The panic in my voice brought me to my senses. Wait a minute.
No, I'm not jealous. Don't willfully misinterpret my statements.
Oh. Okay. I stared into space, defeated as my last ray of hope was promptly dashed.
A girl in my class confessed to me today.
Oh? Confessed what?
Her feelings for me. Asked me out. That kind of thing.
Oh. Huh. Cool. My voice came out flatter than I was expecting. In terms of romantic interest, Gretel probably received quite a lot himself since he had such a cute face. Wait, is that why you were late leaving school today?
Yes, actually. She had asked to meet me after school.
I thought back to the girl who had passed through the gates just before Gretel. Was that her?
Unlike you, she's very cute. Meek and quiet. The kind of girl that evokes a protective instinct.
It sounded an awful lot like he was implying I was ugly, loud, annoying, and not worth protecting at all. 1 minute I was on cloud 9 from all of his compliments, and now this. He was knocking me around like a ping pong ball.
But I turned her down.
What? You did? How come? My pitch spiked to match my mood.
It's like with desserts. The more delicacies you consume, the more refined your palate becomes. Eventually your standards will no longer be satisfied with the ordinary.
Okay. My gaze drifted to the jar of amateur cookies in his hands.
After spending time with you, my standards have risen considerably.
So are you complimenting me or are you not complimenting me? Wait, so you turned her down because she doesn't measure up compared to me? It felt incredibly arrogant to say out loud, but I wanted to make sure I was understanding him correctly. At this, Gretel rose to his feet and pinched my nose. Gah!
This is exactly why I called you a dumbass!
Gretel! Never had I felt so happy to be insulted. If this was what it meant to be a dumbass, then so be it. I wear it with pride. I guess. So confusing. So, okay. The only thing I can think of is that maybe Gretel lost his real sister and lost it? And so our family kind of pseudo-adopted him? And she's like trying to fill his sister's role, but then they ended up getting romantically interested in each other. And I just, oh gosh, I just don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to like fairy tale twisty everything, but I can't make it make sense in my brain. Not yet anyway.
Sister, wake up! Sister!
Mm-hmm. I could feel someone shaking me, but my drowsiness was stronger, keeping my eyelids firmly closed. My would-be rouser fell silent, suggesting that he had given up. Thus, I was now free to sleep as much as I wanted.
If you don't wake up, I'm going to pull a prank on you.
Gah! The sudden whisper in my ear made me bolt upright in bed.
Good morning, sister.
Morning, Gretel. When I opened my leaden eyes, I found Gretel smiling amiably at me.
Did you sleep well?
Hard to say. My head was fuzzy, probably because I'd only just woken up. In fact, if I wasn't careful, I might just drift off again.
Stay awake, please.
Meow, meow, meow. We kitty cats are certified nap experts.
I'm going to strip you again.
Good morning, Gretel! What fine weather we are having! This time I snapped awake completely.
Go wash your face and get dressed.
He promptly handed me a washcloth and a change of clothes. Okay. Biting back a yawn, I headed for the bathroom. As much as I wanted to ignore Gretel's pranks, I was on his home turf, so to speak. We were alone together, and he was my captor. As my captor, he was also functionally my supervisor and manager. Yeah, this whole protecting thing, I'm like, if he lost his actual sister, is this why he's gone to such great lengths this time around to not lose someone that he's come to care about again? But it's still really weird. I just still can't get it to work. After all, he was in charge of my meals, clothing, baths, everything. And so I had no choice but to follow the path he laid out for me each and every day. Gretel, can we talk?
What is it, sister?
What on earth am I wearing? The outfit Gretel had prepared for me was a cross between a kimono and an apron. Not only that, but the bottom half was a miniskirt with frilly lace trim. It was adorable. Is this my uniform from Cinderella's route that you were scandalized by? But coming from my little brother?
It suits you well. Very cute.
Huh? You think so? I wasn't exactly excited to wear a pinafore, but hearing that I looked cute made me happy.
Yeah, you look like a waitress in a sleazy establishment. Perverts and creepy old men would love you.
Well, that's a callback. I regret ever trusting you!
Relax. No one has to see you in that humiliating getup except for me. This is what they call a Japanese-style maid dress. I figured wearing it might help you be a little more obedient. Fake it until you make it, as they say. Now then, sister. Come here, please.
What for? Gretel's smile was as radiant as the morning sun. I braced myself.
Relax, I'm not going to mess with you.
Has he ever once said that and actually meant it? I don't think so. As I squinted dubiously at him, he quickly lost his patience. Seizing me by the arm, he yanked me closer to him.
Here.
He placed something on my head. What is it? I put a hand to my head and felt something crumpled?
It's a headband. A frilly one. You know, the kind you see maids wear. One of those. Yes, it's very cute.
Is this what you're into, Gretel? Maids?
If I said it was, would you keep wearing it? In that case, I'll say whatever you need me to. I love girls in Japanese-style maid outfits. Frankly, it really gets me going.
You're utterly incorrigible, Master. If he was going to tease me, then I was going to tease him right back.
Well done.
He patted me on the head as if to reward me. More than an older sister, more than a maid, I felt like his pet.
Now then, I need to get going.
He grabbed his book bag off the chair. Going where?
To school, of course.
School? School? He was so casual about it, I failed to react for a second. You don't think anybody's going to notice I'm not making lunch for them? Like my awesome older brother, for instance?
Obviously. I still have to graduate from community college, you know.
Well, sorry for thinking you were too busy kidnapping your sister to go to school. Don't you roll your eyes at me, mister. Then I want to go with you.
No, you're perfectly fine right where you are. Just stay here and watch the house for me.
Will you stay and watch the house? Not like I have a choice. I gotta go along with it because I know how these things go. You don't fight back.
Don't worry, I'll be back before you know it.
He brushed me off with a sunny smile.
Oh, and I made breakfast. Do be sure to eat it.
He indicated the kitchen. I looked over then. While I was distracted, Gretel grabbed me by the arm. What?
Silly me. I nearly forgot to tie you back up.
He spoke with the offhanded tone of someone who forgot to turn the oven off. How am I going to eat? I can't eat breakfast with my hands tied. I tried to shake him off, but he was stronger and he swiftly tied my wrists together. Nevertheless, I flailed even harder and he pinned me to the floor. Ah!
You'll be fine. Just bend over and eat it at a 90-degree angle, like one of those drinking bird toys. I'll tie your hair back so you won't have to worry about it getting in the food.
You know, it would be a lot less hassle for both of us if you would just not tie me up in the first place. I was starting to get legitimately angry at his flagrant disregard for my human rights. You're starting to piss me off, you know.
While I don't enjoy making you upset, it's still preferable to letting you escape.
Once he finished tying my hands and hair, he rose to his feet as if nothing had happened.
I'm sorry, sister, but this is partially your fault. I wanted to feed you while I still had time, but you refused to wake up.
I glared up at him from the floor. He crouched down to meet my gaze once more. Then he cupped my chin in his hand, tilted my face up, and whispered sweetly,
Now remember, sister, be sure not to set foot outside.
I'm getting out of here. I'm gonna get out of here. And you just need a spirit bug to go take a look outside for me. Rah! Screaming, I threw a kick at the door. Sure, my skirt flew up, and it wasn't very ladylike, but I didn't care. Not like anyone could see me right now. Unfortunately, the door didn't budge. Meanwhile, I was nearly in tears from the pain in my foot. I guess I can't kick it down. I leaned back against the wall and slid down to a sitting position. Then, once I calmed down, I started to think. From the sounds of it, it would appear that the door had two locks, one on the inside and one on the outside. It made sense, of course. What kind of crappy house would this be if it couldn't be locked from the inside? And since he wanted to keep me inside at all costs, it would make sense for him to invest in a padlock or something similar that could only be unlocked from the outside. Sure, the door was only made of wood, but there was no way I could kick it down by myself. Based on these factors, I concluded that I wasn't getting out through the main exit anytime soon. Not that I need to destroy the door. If I could get my hands free, I could just open the window. For the record, my wrists were tied with cloth, so I could probably free myself if I really wanted to. But no matter how easy it was to get untied, it would be nearly impossible to tie myself back up. I don't even know what I would do once I got out. I didn't know precisely where this cabin was located beyond in a forest. But Gretel couldn't drive a car, nor could he have carried me very far on foot without assistance. So I had a reasonably good idea of where I was. After all, our town was known for its summer homes, many of which were cute little cottages in the forest. But I still didn't understand the most important part, Gretel's motive. Why would he go to all the trouble of locking me up in here? He said it was to protect me, but from what? How did he arrive at this idea? No guarantee he'll ever actually tell me. Next, I reflected on Gretel's behavior. Sure, he liked to mess around with me. But would he really seek out an empty cabin, make it fit to inhabit, and buy me new clothes all as a joke? I sincerely doubted it. Anyway, I looked at the bread sitting on the kitchen counter, cut neatly into bite-sized pieces. Beside it was a cup of what I assumed to be hot chocolate, though it had long since gone cold. My stomach had been growling like crazy for a while now, but I was not a pet, and as such I refused to eat the food he left out for me. He could bully me and dress me up in whatever costume he wanted, but I still had my dignity. My pride, if you will. Guess I'll sleep until Gretel gets back. I could avoid looking at the food, but my brain still knew it was there. Thus, my only option was to shut myself down. Then, when Gretel got home, I could make him feed me something. Or so I thought, but just then... Huh? I heard a knock and turned in the direction of the sound. What? I jumped to my feet. Who's there? That's so creepy. You better not just be like, yoo-hoo, and then leave, because I'll be so angry at you. A man was standing outside the window. But this wasn't just any ordinary man. He was wearing a pointed hat and cape with a black cat on his shoulder. Weirdo alert!
You're pretty weird yourself, you know.
Okay, I didn't realize you could read my thoughts. The weirdo grinned at me.
You could leave anytime you wanted, and yet you choose to stay. The rest of the world would find that pretty strange. Oh, but you're a bit estranged from the rest of the world at the moment, so I guess they don't matter.
He spoke as though he already knew everything about me and my current circumstances. I rushed over to the window. Do you know my brother Gretel?
Sure do.
Then do you know who I am?
Of course.
Do you know why we're out here?
Obviously I would.
He smirked at me knowingly.
I am the wizard, and I know all there is to know. If you wish for me to tell you, then I shall. But do you really want to know?
At this, I stopped to think. Who was this man? Was he lying or telling the truth? Whose side was he on? Was this the right move to make? In the end, I decided... I'm sorry. As much as I want to know, I can't ask you. Not right now.
And why is that?
I don't know you, but I can tell that you're probably telling the truth when you say you know about me and Gretel. However, you're not the one who trapped me in here. Gretel is.
Ah, I see. So you wish to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, I take it.
Yeah. Sorry to change my mind on you like that.
Oh, I don't mind. After all, I don't know why he's decided to lock you up.
What? Defeated, I slumped my forehead against the window pane. Dude. The loud noise startled the wizard's cat, who bolted. You just said you know everything!
No one's perfect, you know.
He laughed and shrugged. So you were just screwing with me?
Perish the thought. I simply have limits, that's all. While I may appear all-knowing, there are rules I cannot break.
His word choice caught my attention, and I narrowed my eyes. Is that because you're Gretel's accomplice?
Good question.
He smiled without batting a lash.
I only know the plot outline and the desired ending. As for anything else, sometimes I don't know what I know, you know.
So you only know the plot outline and the desired ending. So that's why there's certain parts that you're like, no, this deviates from the outline. Try it again. And also, like, this doesn't lead to the ending that is desired. Okay. But you don't always know what you know. Until it happens? Interesting. All I could deduce from this was that there wasn't necessarily any confirmation he was Gretel's accomplice.
Oh, and if you wanted, I could break you out of there. But you don't want me to, do you?
It's not that I want to stay here, but I'll hold off for now.
In that case, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do for you at this time.
He shrugged sadly. That's demonstrably false, actually.
What?
He stared at me, his eyes as round as saucers. You think there's nothing you can do for me? Well, I disagree. We're having a conversation, aren't we? As he blinked in surprise, I smirked mischievously at him. Would you chat with me for a while, Mr. Wizard? I'm really, really bored in here. For a moment, he froze, his brown eyes fixed on mine. Then he grinned. Is it bad I'm falling in love?
Huh. Sure, why not? I may not understand your thought process, but I'm happy to kill time with you any time you need me to.
Thank you! Let me go get a chair. But right as I stepped away from the window, a familiar sound caught my attention. It was my stomach, reminding me that I was still human.
Are you hungry?
Oh God, you heard it?!
You poor thing. You must be starving.
I mean, there is food here, technically. Slumping my shoulders, I glanced at the kitchen.
Then why not eat it?
I would, except there's one little problem. I turned my back to him and hopped up and down to bring my bound wrists into view.
So bend over and eat it like a cat.
What is with these people? I would have been tearing my hair out right about now, but I couldn't use my hands. So instead I jumped up and down in frustration.
In that case, shall I assist you?
Huh? Please do. You heard the man! It's breakfast time! I mean, you know what? I'm more than okay that the Yandere has left, and I've got this boy feeding me now. This is a good change. It's a good change of pace, and I'm okay with all of it.
Open wide, little heroine. Say ah.
Ah. I sat in my chair, hands still bound as the wizard fed me my toast. It's so good! The bread in question was a small Brötchen breakfast roll baked by Gretel himself. Normally, I would have liked to slather it in butter and jam, or even make a ham and cheese sandwich out of it, but this would have to do. Sure, it was plain bread, but it was still delicious by itself.
Want more?
Yes, please! At my request, the wizard grabbed another bite-sized piece of Brötchen and held it up to my mouth so I could bite it. So much nicer than having a certain someone stuff it into my mouth without asking.
Feels like I'm feeding a little rabbit.
I stomped my foot in protest. So, how did you get in here so easily? You know, all the locks on the door? Seriously, the dude practically waltzed in here. He's magical. After he offered to assist me, I was like, how? And he was like this! And the door swung open. And since I didn't hear him unlock anything, it kind of left me with a lot of unanswered questions.
I am the wizard, after all.
Okay, then. He gave me one of his non-answers, and I shrugged it off. Conversation over. That said, if he didn't want to reveal his secrets, then I couldn't exactly force him. No sense in pressing further. For now, anyway. I wonder how Gretel would feel if he knew about us doing this. You know, having a visibly shady stranger feed me bread while I'm tied up.
Aren't you more worried about what he would do in response?
Same difference, really.
I suppose so.
The wizard laughed cheerfully. I couldn't really get a read on him. You know, you could have just untied me so I could eat, then tied me back up after.
That would require more effort with the same outcome. This is functionally no different.
It's pretty different to me. Then the wizard looked up suddenly. What is it?
It seems your brother is on his way back.
Huh?
What shall we do about it?
This question made me pause. I had only just wondered how Gretel would react if he saw us. Was I about to find out? Sorry, but you gotta go! For some reason, the word infidelity came to mind. I mean, I guess that's technically true since we're on his route, but I was like, yes, Mr. Wizard, please feed me bread. I'll say all you want, honey. Alrighty then. With a lighthearted wave, he headed for the door. And be sure to lock it behind you.
I know.
There's a lot more I want to say to you, but I'll limit myself to just one last thing. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
He opened the door and I caught a tiny glimpse of the world beyond. Wait! Before you go! I stopped him one last time. He looked back over his shoulder at me. I hesitated for a moment, then asked, Will I see you again?
Good question. Yes, I dare say you might. Until then, my little heroine, farewell!
See you! I love you! As requested, he locked the door from the outside before he left. Once that lock was in place, I managed to lock it from the inside, too. What a strange man. I let out a breath and sat down on the spot. Everything about him was a total mystery, but I couldn't sense any ill will toward me. That said, if he was able to bypass Gretel's security system, then chances were good he was in on the scheme. Just then, I sensed someone on the other side of the door, so I rose to my feet. I heard the sound of the door unlocking, and then it opened.
I'm home.
Welcome home, Gretel! That was fast! Sure enough, here he was. I donned a smile to hide my internal panic.
Did someone come visit?
Actually, you know what? I will say yes, because someone came and visited and I stayed. So what do you make of that, Mr. Yandere Pants? Yeah. I answered him honestly, and his expression twisted sharply.
Who was it? When? Did you talk to them?
His voice was startlingly icy, and it made me flinch, but I quickly recovered. Just now. See? little kitty cat's having trouble saying goodbye.
What cat?
I turned to the window. Outside, I could see nothing but dense trees casting shadows in the sunlight.
So you saw those rippling shadows and thought it was a cat?
Sonotori! I couldn't shoot him the finger gun, so I settled for snapping my fingers. Initially, Gretel seemed somewhat convinced, but then his gaze came to rest on one particular object in the room. What's wrong?
That's strange. I thought you said you wouldn't eat it since you're not an animal or whatever.
Well, I got really hungry. I was starving. I wanted to wait until you got home, but I just couldn't. So I bent over and ate it, just like a cat. I hastily stumbled my way through an excuse.
I see. Well, I'm sorry about that. I'll try to come home faster from now on.
He smirked faintly.
Alas, I do wish I could have seen you degrade yourself as you bent over like a cat.
Dream on. I glared at him.